We're just happy to have you, wanting to help. So thank you for that.
No problem.
Hi, everyone.
Our fearless leader is here.
Hello.
I think our first order of business should be Webster eliminating daylight savings times. Do you think
Oh my goodness, yes.
If that were in my power, I would just unilaterally make a declaration and that would be it.
Totally.
My mother-in-law's sister lives in Arizona, and she was like texting her at like 6:30 on Saturday night. Have you changed your clocks yet? Have you changed your clock? You know, we don't have daylight savings in Arizona. Shut up.
Don't rub it in.
I think that sounds exactly like what the whole purpose of that was to rub it in. That she doesn't-
Hi, Michael. Welcome. Are you Michael, or how do you go by? What do you go by?
Whatever you want to call me.
Oh.
Michael works. It's fine.
You might. Okay, good. I thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, anything.
Hi, Erbab.
Hey, how's it going?
Awesome. How's the backpack check? Okay.
There wasn't enough time for me to get to that. I only had 20 minutes between the time I came home and the time the call was going to start. I was like, I'm not getting into this right now.
Good for you. Time management.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 4 o'clock. I think, do we have a quorum? We good?
Yep.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion to get this going?
I'll make a motion to get this going.
And to approve the minutes at the
And
same
to approve
time.
minutes. There we go. Probably a
Efficient.
better phrase, get this going.
Really? Probably.
Yeah.
All
And to
right.
approve the minutes, I make the motion.
Thank you, Chris. Anybody want to second that?
I second.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Okay. This is exciting stuff, and you guys are gonna have to bear with me as I like flip-flop screens because I haven't figured out quite how to do this yet, and all of my big kids are on a college visit and therefore unavailable to be my tech help. So we are, okay, approval of minutes. Okay, do we have any visitor comments, Todd?
Oh, you got to approve the minutes first. You got to take a vote on it.
Sorry, I thought we did that all in one. Okay, everybody, let's talk about the minutes for a minute. What can somebody motion to approve the minutes?
You already got that.
Oh, we did? Okay.
All you have to do is have them vote.
All in
Oh.
favor?
My bad. Okay, a vote. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm taking notes on how to do this. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Oh, opposed? Awesome. Okay. Now we're on to visitor comments, right?
All right. I don't have any.
Okay, that's quick. Okay, then our old business is our subcommittee meeting that was had last week, and about the walk bike plan. And I think Jeff would like to share some information with us. Jeff, are you cool with that?
Sure. And I'm going to try to go by memory without reading what email I sent you. But I think so the subcommittee agreed to bring to the full commission a recommendation to the council that the city add bike lanes on Lockwood Avenue going west from Rock Hill Road to Berry. I think, Todd, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the thought was that would happen at the completion of the MSD work in that area, and then in the spring when it warmed up enough to put the thermoplastic striping on the road is when that would occur.
Yes.
The committee also subcommittee, I should say, recommended that to the commission that we do shared lane markings, or sharrows, as my terminology continues to grow in this area, east of Rock Hill Road on Lockwood. And then we discussed recommending a bike lane. I need to get some clarity on this. On Bompart, going from Pacific to, I don't know if that would be Big Bend or Lockwood there, right? That sort of intersection.
Probably Lockwood.
Lockwood. And the point I wanted to clarify was, I know it's, you have more width on one side of Bompart than you do on the other. I'm assuming it would be a bike lane on one side and maybe shared markings. Okay. And then I guess going south of Bompart, north-south through Webster, we would recommend shared lane markings on Edgar Road all the way to Watson. Because of the narrow width there, we wouldn't have room for a bike lane. So that would achieve the stated objective of establishing an east-west and north-south established bike corridor through the city.
Okay, and then with that, do we have we had two more items that the subcommittee had raised attention to focus on. And so one of those was also bike racks, and adding bike racks where, throughout the city. So what's the best practice? And I don't know if you guys got to talk about this in your meeting. What's the best practice on identifying those areas as we move forward?
Patrick, you might correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think we just discussed really kind of leaving it up to the commission to try to identify, because I don't think anyone knew a place offhand that was really in desperate need of a bike rack that didn't have one, but to keep an eye out and try to bring that to light if we find something where there's really a need.
Yeah, we tried to get something at Crossroads some time ago and just couldn't come up with anything. So it's more of a takeaway from that subcommittee as a ongoing project that, keep your eyes open, do a little homework. I don't really have any advice for you on that front.
Okay. What would we think about reaching out to the business districts who, are there all the time and might be able to suggest a sneaky little spot that we might not be able to see as, just driving through or visiting certain establishments, and or reaching out to, kind of gauge some information from our expert bikers, like the folks at the hub or something like that.
I mean, I think it's worthwhile certainly to ask around and just see if there's if there's a need for more bike racks. I don't know that, like I said, I don't know if we've really identified anything yet.
I kind of think that we're at the point where maybe if we could get some of our bike corridors in better shape, you'd find the bike racks are used at areas where there are those destination points. And what you see is that already there are some destination points that do have a fair number of bike racks, like the rec center has some, there's bike racks at the high school. There's some bike racks in Old Webster. There's one that we put in Old Orchard. So probably okay there.
Okay. What, and this is, I just want to make sure we don't, leave this topic quite without making sure we've uncovered everything. Do you think we need to reach out to or write us just a short email to the Crossroads folks to see about if they think it's like a necessary thing, or should we just, do we wait like 6 months and revisit this, or what do you think? are people going to Crossroads on their bikes? That's the other thing, because I know I cycle up to Schnucks, but they have bike racks, but I don't know if it needs to.
I could reach out to Mara, who's our staff liaison to the business districts, and when she has her meetings with them, she could bring it up to them and see what they have to say.
You know, I'll just throw this in here, Jamie, that the
Yeah.
the places that tend to be more popular destinations with the bikes are either large retail like Schnucks, or they're like the restaurants, you know, like bread cone places. And a lot of Crossroads is some really awesome like professional services and so a little bit of retail in there. But
Mhm.
with Schnucks, you know, I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't be bad to have them, but my guess is it's not. We're probably, it's not the biggest issue that we've got with the bikes, maybe. I mean, one there would be great, you know, no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And again, like demand, is it there? Todd, if you could ask Mara to touch base with them to see if they think it's a need, and then I think then we have at least some directives on the next steps on which way to go with that, if we need to explore more. And then, okay, so then once we establish more of these corridors, we think it'll probably take, it's going to be May of next year that that one part of Lockwood. When do you think we need to revisit a bike rack conversation, or do you think we're okay for now and we'll just come back around this time next year to say that? Anybody from the subcommittee have a thought? Jeff, you're muted.
I thought
Sorry.
it was okay unless somebody identifies a place where we're sort of really lacking, or where an additional bike rack could be useful.
Okay. Okay. So we're gonna check this box, right? For bike racks. Woo.
So
Okay. And then what was the third thing?
the third, I think, just played on the east, west, and north, south corridors about just the idea of establishing more of a network of bike corridors in Webster, and maybe connecting to Grants Trail. And I believe Todd said that was it Parks, or was discussing this with Great Rivers Greenway.
Yeah, the Parks Department is looking at doing a continuation of the Greenway Trail down from the park over by the service center, I can't think of the name of it, and then go south down to Watson, to where it ties into the Grants Trail down on Watson.
It's Lorraine Davis. I think you're thinking.
Lorraine Davis, yeah, that's it. Mhm.
Okay, cool. How do you think we need to connect with that conversation at all at any point? Is that something that the Sustainability Commission should be paying attention to as well?
Probably not until they get going.
Okay.
Do we need to reach out and ask them if they need any additional help, or do you think they've got it pretty well under wraps?
I don't know where it's at right now. I'd have to get with Scott and find out.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Elizabeth. And Todd, if you tell Scott, like, hey, the Sustainability Commission, for whatever reason, would be able to, help in whatever capacity, or if that's even help. I don't know quite how to lend assistance, but we're interested to be a partner. I would assume. Do we need to vote on something like that?
I know that there's really, yeah. There's a lot of good stuff happening with the bikes, so it's really positive, I think.
So what I'm going to need from the commission is a
Mhm.
letter to the council, then make with those recommendations on the striping and the sharrows and all that. And then they can put it on a work session in the near future. So then they can
Okay.
direct me to do it.
Awesome. So our subcommittee, then we're going to plan for one more meeting probably to pull that language together. Does that seem okay? Seem the right course of next steps?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, that or could probably be done via email.
okay.
I mean, just take a crack at it, send it out, and
That's a great a great suggestion, Patrick. So who wants to be the person to take the first crack at that language? Or do you guys want to talk about this among your subcommittee? Can we do that via email with Sunshine?
I mean, I think, you know, the email I sent you with what the subcommittee decided, I think that's, you know, if we phrase that in a little more formally in the form of a letter, I think that, I assume that's all we need to do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty well done. It's very close, I think.
Okay.
I would agree.
And as long as you copy Todd and Katie both, Katie Nakazano, our city clerk, then you can do whatever you want that way via email.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay, so can I ask the subcommittee to have that letter by next meeting? Is that fair?
Shouldn't take much.
Okay,
yeah, I mean,
cool.
I'll take the first stab at it. I'll just take Jeff's email and kind of just tweak it a little bit and make it sound a little more formal. So
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. Okay, team, way to be. Okay, so on this same kind of bikeable topic, we have our second item in old business is to discuss the partnership. Is it BDC? Is that the acronym? I'm not looking at it right now. Thanks.
Yeah, that's it.
And we have Dr. Majid here to chat with us. Erbab, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I am a resident in Webster, and I also have a dental practice in Webster, and recently took on an interest in the whole bike issue, and I'm slowly eking my way into bike culture as I've been walking and biking to work exclusively for about 4 months now. And kind of with the BDC, there's always an ongoing conversation about what is happening around Webster and how it will affect businesses and the way they operate. And so, you know, just already in the conversation you guys are having, I feel like there's an opportunity for me to at least facilitate somebody that's either more able or smarter than I am to have the answers for you guys when it comes to questions about, you know, where bike racks should go, or where there's, you know, areas that might benefit from a bike rack, and you know, all the kind of questions that would come with being a business owner and having a bike rack in front of your establishment, and things you have to be concerned about, or things that you have to facilitate as a business owner. So all of those things that you know, I would love to, if you guys think it's appropriate, help to serve as a go-between for the Sustainability Commission and the BDC to help push progress along, you know, and to help prevent any, you know, redoing or problems down the line.
That's awesome. Thank you. I know in the past, you know, this commission has mused about doing some fun things to promote our, you know, more bikeable Webster. And I think there's a future, you know, where we can explore some fun ideas to get people connected, you know, to their bikes and on the streets in Webster. I mentioned this, I think last time, that Webster Ramble idea, and, you know, who knows, sky's the limit on how we can better encourage biking the community and supporting establishments that way. So yeah, does anybody have any other comments or reflections, or anything they want to share about a bikeable Webster?
Do we have a census of bike racks?
The commission did one a couple years ago. I could definitely take a look at updating it. It was, just a kind of a neighborhood map, and it told where the racks were and how many racks there were. I could pull that back out and send that out maybe, and just ask people, hey, take a look at this if you know of any new ones. Because we did put a couple new ones in there. I could kind of update it.
Well, I was thinking that as we, the city is planning within the next year to update our city website. And a map of bike racks, if we had locations, would be pretty easy to add to that. And I don't know how many people would use it, but it certainly would be one part of the message that we want to become more bike friendly than we already are.
So what we've seen, Laura, is that most of the bike racks, I think, were sort of public bike racks, like city, like the ones at Rec Center. And then there are a few out there that, like, there's a little bike rack over there by the Reliance building. There's one at Webster over at, they've got that like practice area over in the Mills. There's one at Chinook. So there's some private ones, there's some public ones in there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That'd be great. John, thanks. Arbab, did you want to add to this, please?
And from the business owner's perspective, I wonder if there's like a Google feature that you can add to your individual business that shows that you have some kind of bike infrastructure adjacent to or behind or in front of or on the street of, by your business. So I wonder if that's something that could help with the location of them.
I like that
That's-
idea. Do we have on our city website like a Google map? And I wonder if it's something we could just add virtually. Am I asking too much?
No, that we have, there's a GIS person who works part-time for some other cities and, so we do have a whole series of different kinds of maps. And so this certainly could be a part of a separate map, part of some other maps, but our maps, and Todd, you may want to jump in here. As I recall, our maps tend to be sort of specialized. There's a zoning map, there's a restaurant map. We could have a bike rack map, but I'm not sure we have one that has absolutely everything on there, which I think is what you're suggesting.
Yeah, like when you just Google an address and everything pops up, like the restaurant, the certain landmarks, things like that. But yeah, if we had like a GIS person that could insert the icon for a biking station, that would be fabulous. For the businesses too, they could use it then. They could link right to that map.
Yeah, I like these ideas for businesses too, to be able to promote, like, hey, you can ride your bike to me. I have a bike rack in like a certain number of, I don't know, close proximity. I don't know what that would look like. But yeah, I think as we get more bikeable and address more connecting in a post-COVID world, yay. I think that this is a conversation that we can have that's ongoing and seeing how we can help connect more. Arbab, I think that, I'm not quite sure yet, but perhaps with, how Sustainability Commission can assist, but perhaps if you, as like the businesses in Webster, can think of something, we don't profess obviously to know everything about where, bike racks are placed or what other needs there might be to promote more bikeability, then that's definitely something we're interested in.
Yeah, I'm happy to facilitate that conversation as far as I can take it at the BC meetings, or I don't know. I am happy to facilitate that, like not in a city capacity. I don't know, on the level of the trade associations, and start that conversation in terms of people kind of being aware of the changes that may be coming down the pipe, so that if there is a business, for example, like if I'm like, oh, there's a parking lot that all of my patients use, and I would love, and I have the space to, and I would love to put a bike rack there. Where can I submit a request to the
Mhm.
city to get that, is there a form that I can fill out, that kind of thing.
Mhm. How does that happen? Todd, do you know how that magic gets bridged together?
There is an online forum on our website for asking questions or bringing up
Oh.
issues or
Suggestion box?
kind of.
So yeah, so facilitating that conversation, I'm happy to. Just-
Awesome. Okay, well,
So
go ahead.
Do you want me to specifically talk to the BDC about bike racks, or should I just, I don't, so I'm always hesitant to share something that shouldn't be shared. Is this stuff that can be shared in terms of the coming bike lanes and the sharrows and the kind of the move to make the bike infrastructure more well-known?
That's a good question. What does that get?
So,
Yeah.
council hasn't decided, right? This is a recommendation. Council has to decide.
Okay.
But I would say there's nothing wrong with sharing that this is going to be coming to council so that any interested member of the BDC can also encourage us to do what you all are asking us to do. So I don't think you can say it's a done deal, but you can certainly encourage people to pay attention to this and get in contact with council if this is something that they're interested in having us do.
All right.
Good stuff. Thanks for that advice, Laura. Okay, anything else here? All right.
I think I'll jump off the call so you guys can continue in your normal business.
Awesome.
Hey,
Urbab, thank you.
Before you do that, Dr. Majid, can I just ask, just because I'm taking notes, so you're a member of the BDC commission, is that correct?
Yes.
And then your office is in Webster, is it in one of the business districts?
I'm in the Old Webster Business District.
Old Webster, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
No sweat.
Thank you, Urbab.
Nice meeting all you guys.
Nice
Love
to
what
meet
you're
you.
doing. Keep
Thanks.
doing it.
We'll talk soon.
See ya.
Okay. So our next, in new business now, we added a couple of things to talk about energy and what we can be doing as a city to be paying more attention to reducing our energy consumption and making better choices. I know some of this is going to be likely brought up as we dive deeper into the Green Cities Challenge. So I want to just kind of get this conversation started so that we can address some things like adding more EV charging stations and just preparing to switch over in the future and maybe quicker than that. But I know how slowly these things move, and I do want to start paying attention and having the conversation of how we can be addressing energy across the board, including, okay, so I said EV charging stations, also like our fleet of vehicles, like, what does that look like? This is obviously something, fleets and such, I know nothing about. And so we just like to, I think it would be important for the commission to have a better understanding so that down the line we can offer some suggestions. So I guess I'm just saying that. And does anybody want to add some stuff to this energy talk? Does anybody have any specific questions?
Well, just to throw this out there, because Todd, you might know this maybe, but the city did an energy audit just a few years back about their buildings, correct?
Yeah, and we installed solar panels down at the service center.
But
We've,
wasn't that also part of changing lighting in a lot of
Yeah,
buildings and?
we've done all the city-owned street lights have been upgraded to LED, and then last year about this time we started replacing our fluorescent bulbs throughout City Hall with LED bulbs. Some people were against it after we put them in because it made it a lot brighter, and they're like, "Oh, I don't like this," so we had to swap them back out for regular fluorescent. But majority of the offices here at City Hall have LED lights.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, we talked about this with Green City Challenge, and I think that the city's done pretty well with hitting the low hanging fruit,
Mhm.
right?
I
Do
would
you guys
think so.
remember?
So now we have to reach a little higher.
I am curious about some of the big energy users like the ice rink or the pool. I mean, city-owned facilities.
Mm-hmm. The rec center was our Green Cities Challenge focus with Deb. And do we have, and this is terrible for me to not know this, I guess. Do we have any documentation of what was done with that process? Does anybody recall? Are there like mystery emails hanging out somewhere that outlines what we did with the rec center? And if so, how do I read those?
I'm assuming we had to submit something to the Green Cities people to,
Okay.
so there should be some record, paper trail out there somewhere about what was accomplished when we did that.
See, I thought we didn't get there, Jeff, that when we got it the previous year, we had submitted the things that the city did, which included the street lights and the service center and the renovations in City Hall, which were all great. And then we were going to get to the rec center. That's how I remember it, but we didn't. I don't think we did
Okay.
anything.
So has anybody gone to Vaughn yet, Steingruby? Because that's the staff person that I found who is on the paperwork for some of this. And so if we as a city submitted, I assume that she would have done some of that submitting or at least been a part of that process.
Laura, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name.
Yvonne
Oh, Yvonne. Okay.
Steingruby.
Mm-hmm. I will reach out to Yvonne and Jean Ponzi and see what we can find out from that. And that might be able to help us, learn from our past and how we can move forward. What else about energy? Do we think this is an important?
Well, I think, in the past, we've talked about these issues in sort of two buckets, one being what can the city do to reduce its energy intensity or energy consumption, and what things can we do to encourage the city as a whole to reduce energy use. And one thing that, and I don't know what the appetite is in the commission to explore this is, but I'm sort of interested in the idea of a residential energy use disclosure policy. And I know that's sort of a, it's sort of a, I mean, I think, and for those who, cities, there are cities across the country that have these. And what I have in mind, and they're all sorts of varieties, but for instance, I believe the city of Chicago is a good example where, if you go list a house for sale, you have to disclose what the average 12-month electricity and gas bill is. And, there's a lot of reasons for doing this. It is pro-consumer. I mean, you wouldn't buy a car without having, the first thing you look at when you buy a car is what is the gas mileage, or among the first things. But it also, I think it encourages people to do energy efficiency on their home and to, insulate their attics and weatherize doors and windows. Because if you're shopping for a house, not only do you have to build in with the mortgage payment and the insurance and taxes and all that, but the energy cost of running a house, particularly a city like Webster that has a lot of old housing stock, is pretty considerable. And if you know that the average bill for heating and cooling this house is going to be, a combined $200 a month or $300 a month or whatever it is, I think that's useful information for home buyers. And I think it's useful for people who live in homes who might think about selling them one day to invest in energy efficiency improvements. Because if I can cut my energy bill $20 or $50 a month, that has value when you're going to sell your home. It's also just an awareness when it comes to energy efficiency. And I know we talked about things about the building code and new residential building code and things of that nature. But I just think, this is something that really has no, if you take the time to get it right, it has no downside. It's just disclosure and transparency, but it has a tremendous upside for home buyers and the city as a whole. So I know, it's not something you're going to do overnight, but I think it's worth looking into.
Mm-hmm.
It would be great if you had like kind of an average cost per square foot. And when you went to buy that place, you could compare it at least against the average to know whether your house has like really lousy insulation or it's been improved,
There are cities that do benchmark.
Yeah.
That's taking it another level. And there are obviously cities, St. Louis, obviously Webster, we don't have like the kind of, 20 or 30 story buildings, but, the city of St. Louis, for one, and Kansas City also established benchmarking ordinances for commercial buildings, where they have the owners of these buildings of a certain size have to disclose their energy use. And, that kind of along the same lines is encouraging efficiency improvements, because tenants want to know, what the cost is going to be. So I'm putting that out there, sort of that's not something we're going to do in a subcommittee in 1 week or a month, but just something that I think would be, I just don't think I don't see a downside to it if you can get it right.
Well, I love it, Jeff, because the city's energy uses is one thing, but it's dwarfed by the residential energy use.
I also think it's a great idea.
There's actually a website which I'm happy to forward for future discussion about literally the policy steps and considerations to look at and how to develop a policy like this. Whether it's at the most simple level, it is when you list a house, here's the the average 12-month average gas and electricity bill, just so the buyer knows. And the real estate market is like insanely hot right now, but regardless of that, I think it's still a good consumer tool. And then you can, I know there are cities that get, a little more sophisticated than that, and they have, it does take some work with the local utility, because you want to automate this. It's not a matter of at least in some cases, I don't think it's always a matter of just a disclosure, like, the seller's disclosure when you're selling your house, where you just say, okay, the crack in the basement and whatever. So this is automated, and there are cities where you can benchmark it against, the average home in the city or in the county or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, are there any local municipalities who have looked into this or done this, implemented something like this, or?
I don't know that there are. I can double check that, but I'm not aware of any right offhand.
Okay. And any because I know you live in that energy world, like sized municipalities either in Missouri, like in the Kansas City area, or just nationally that you have heard of doing this?
But yeah, there are municipalities of all sizes that have done these things. I don't know necessarily if Missouri, if there are any nearby or even in the Kansas City area that we can point to. But I can, it shouldn't be too hard to find out.
Okay. This is really cool, and I think it could be a useful tool. And I think we need to definitely keep talking about it. If you were to share that email address with us, and then John can also throw it in the minutes, please, John.
What
Information for next meeting, if you like.
Yeah.
I really like the fact, Jeff, that what you're talking about is not mandating someone to do something, just having them disclose what it is, right?
Right, exactly. But I think through disclosing, you're encouraging, because if you go buy an old 100-year-old house that's fairly large and you haven't done any energy retrofits, you could be in for some steep heating bills in the winter. By the same token, if the house next door has invested thousands of dollars into weatherizing and efficiency, you could get a lot more for your money in that newer or that upgraded house, even though they look the same on the outside. So I just think it's I guess I go back to the car buying analogy. It's one of the first things I look at is what's the price, what kind of mileage does it get, what am I going to pay in gas or electricity, I guess, every month to run it. So I just think it's good all around for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Let's circle back to this specifically next meeting when you have a little more information, and perhaps the rest of us have been able to read that, look over that website, because I do think that's really important. And energy is so broad, so I know I'm like lobbing like a huge thing to talk about, but I just want to make sure that we're like talking about this because this is so critical to moving forward. As we are trying to save the world in like 8 years. So let's also keep in mind, I wanna, talk about fleet. And I don't know, Todd, like who do we need to, like, how do we have that conversation and how do things like that change? And maybe Laura, you might know too.
Public Works is in charge of the fleet for the city.
Why are you smiling like that? They're not gonna like this.
Do you buy through a buying pool? Does the city buy vehicles through a municipal league or buying?
We usually buy our stuff through the state bid contract.
Okay.
Missouri does an annual bid every year for all types of equipment and vehicles, and so they bid it out, and we don't have to bid it. We just go off of their bid.
Right. Has electric been an option?
I have not looked. I'm sure they do have like cars.
Right.
I'm sure there's not electric dump trucks that I'm aware of. So.
Right.
So I would go ahead, Patrick, sorry.
Well, just for non-police things, I mean, I've seen the cars, be it Ford Escapes or Ford Fusions. They've had hybrid versions of those. I wasn't sure if that was an option. Not necessarily full electric, but for public works or, housing inspectors, those sort of things.
Yeah, so two things that I'll just add to this conversation. Our vehicles are on a budget schedule so that we buy some vehicles every single year, pretty much. Right. Whether those are for the police department or public works or parks and recreation. And so to do something like this over time is already part of the way we replace the fleet in the city. But this is really fundamentally a budget conversation, to be honest, because the first thing that I know the city manager is going to ask Todd is, how does this change the budget picture, right? Is there any difference in performance, and what does the budget look like if we as a city took this on? And so I think if you're going to have this conversation and want to make some sort of recommendation, that has to be part of consideration of it. the cycle is going to be there because that's just how we replace vehicles. Unless, Todd, there's something that is out of cycle. I mean, it seems to me, just in my years of watching.
No,
But
usually our cycle is 7 to 10 years is when we replace.
yeah, so the real question is, what's the impact on the budget? Because that's what council is going to ask, and that's what the city manager is going to ask.
And it's not every car. I mean, it's not like the whole fleet is changed in 7 years. You've got things coming and going in different cycles. Okay.
And I was mentioning to Jamie once that, you know, I'm familiar with some of these analyses that cities, and some cities, you know, again, not in Missouri, but that have done these, and they've done some pretty sophisticated analyses where they used a vendor called Fleet Karma, which uses vehicle. They give you a little thing. It's about this big, and you plug it under your dash, and it records it's a telematic device, and it records everything from how far you drive, how fast you brake, how hard you accelerate. And they did this over a period of, I don't know if it was 6 months or a year, to see which vehicles in a city's fleet, and I don't know how many Webster has altogether, but this particular city I'm familiar with had 20 vehicles. It's not, you know, it was about 25,000 person city. And they found that over the life cycle of their fleet that they could save in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $40,000 by switching some vehicles to either plug-in hybrid electrics or battery electric vehicles. Even though in some cases the sticker price of the car might be slightly higher, you don't have to change oil. There's no oil changes, there's no gasoline. And they baked in the cost of doing charging infrastructure at the city. So that's what I was wondering, just, you know, because EV availability has been so limited in Missouri in general, I don't know if that's really been an option at this point, but you know, it's a question I raised was, at some point when you get to that annual, whatever 1, 2, 3 cars you're going to replace, is it worth doing the analysis to see, even if it's not as sophisticated as what I described, to see, is it worth, you know, and I totally get what Laura said. I mean, what you say about, you know, it's a budget issue, but if you can be cleaner and cheaper, that's kind of, to me, where it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I don't rate it as a budget issue because I don't know enough to know whether long-term gain budgetary, but that's how it's going to be perceived, right? So if you all want to make a recommendation, I think to recommend also something like Fleet Karma would be great, because that's a way to at least start us with thinking about what it might save us to do over time. And I appreciate your saying that the infrastructure for charging, because that's going to be part of it as well. I mean, the good news is that we park our fleet in particular places, and so it's not distributed in a way that you couldn't probably do charging relatively easily. But those are the questions.
Yeah, fleets tend to be really, you know, and again, if you look at it, you know, it's one of those deals where there's always going to be upfront costs. But if you're looking at the life cycle, a 7-year ownership of a vehicle, is it, you know, which is cheaper? So that's why I was just kind of curious if that has even been an option for cities in Missouri to, you know, to run the calculus and see if it makes sense, or because it will at some point. I mean, like it was referenced, I mean, GM says they're only going to sell EVs by 2035, so it's coming.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is that puts our energy conversation at a good start. And I think, you know, Jeff, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us those 2 resources, and let's all come back to our meeting next month, having looked those over and see where we might be able to take this conversation. as it pertains to energy. And I do know, like, we are gonna, this is something that I want to continue because I know we've had a presentation from Grow Solar for our region. And so there's a lot of energy to discuss. Does anybody want to add anything before we hop off of energy for a hot sec? Okay, cool. Kind of, well, it's not even hopping off energy. Then the last item that I want to bring up for new business is kind of old business, medium business, is revisiting the clean Mayors for Clean Energy pledge that the Sierra Club asked about. It was maybe the end of 2019. And I did talk to someone from Sierra Club to try to understand where that program is. They are, as far as like a campaign, it has like, come to an end as far as like the big push and campaign, but they are still actively signing people up. In fact, Mayor Lucas of Kansas City just signed on not too long ago, like in the very recent past. So I do think that this is something that would be a great step to take to flag to Ameren that we are interested in, as a community, more renewables and cleaner energy usage. So let's chat about that for a minute. Concerns, questions? Opposition, support.
It might be worthwhile, Jamie, to maybe pull that info back out and kind of refresh my memory as to exactly what it was that they were asking. I remember this, but I'm kind of fuzzy on the details.
Yeah. And I don't know where I put my notes from when I talked to Ashton. Yeah, it's basically just a signal to say that it's non-binding, but it's a signal to say that this is something that our community values, cleaner energy, and how can we support that, being that we don't have our own electric utility here in Webster. So, Ashton told me at Sierra Club that Maplewood and Kirkwood have signed on to this. There's a whole list of local municipalities that have signed on. And Columbia, Missouri, who has they have a whole office of sustainability, pretty cool stuff. Anyway, I will be able to, I'm gonna do a little more research, and I'll share that with the group, what that pledge looks like again. I would love to, ask Laura that, in the next couple of months, if we all agree to bring that to the mayor to support, because the mayor historically, for those of you who weren't on the commission then, she said that she would take it to council, and I don't know that it got very far, and I can't really remember why. So Laura, you want to help me here?
I am happy to. It never came to council formally. And I've had a couple of conversations with the mayor about this. Keep in mind that on our city council, when a mayor signs on to something, the entire council does it. The decision is with the entire council, not with the mayor. And we've only, to my knowledge, signed on to one thing like this, and that was the Mayors Against Illegal Guns, or
Mayors for Gun Sense.
But it's not called that. It's a
really?
stranger name. Yeah. But so that's the only one we've ever done. I've talked to the mayor a couple of times about why she didn't bring this forward. She has said that she doesn't think it's worth doing because we have no plan in place. So I think, there seems to be a disconnect between, do we have to do what we promised to do, even though you're right, it's binding as I read it, and how much of it is symbolic, speaking to energy companies versus a commitment that we do something immediately to diminish our energy use. And so that's sort of the conundrum right here, is that she clearly doesn't believe, without a plan of action, that this is something that we should probably sign on to. And I'm pretty confident saying that because she and I have talked several times about it. That doesn't mean necessarily that the rest of council will feel the same way.
Okay, so it's kind of a chicken and an egg thing. Like,
Yeah.
do we create a plan? Or do we say signal support and then with that support, create a plan?
Can we do like half and half? We'll make like a few bullet points, the start of our plan, and then send it on its way. And if it goes out, then we can kind of, you know, fill in the details later.
So my understanding of why Sierra Club has been trying to get all these cities to sign on is that is basically sort of a show of support at the state level for regulators and policymakers who decide which direction or with how much gusto and Ameren's going to sort of clean up its power mix. And so Ameren submits, in fact, Ameren submitted a plan to state utility regulators in the fall. And this is their 20-year plan for here's how we're going to meet energy demand over the next 20 years. And there is a pretty significant transition away from coal and fossil fuels to renewable energy. Where this comes in, I think, is, the Sierra Club and the other environmental advocates want, if you can get every city in Missouri to say, hey, they need to move faster, the idea is that the state regulators who get to make these decisions will say, we need to put a little more pressure on Ameren to move faster. So that's it. Now, it is largely symbolic because, like you say, it's non-binding. There's no, you're just sort of lending your voice to this cause. And I don't know how much sway it has one way or the other. So I kind of get both sides of this. So I don't know how much effort we want to.
What if we just do another letter, and in the letter we can sort of explain what you just explained, Jeff, that this is really the intent is to be symbolically, show our drive towards clean energy, and supporting this will help our community and our state to further that agenda.
Yeah,
or something, along those lines. And then that's kind of where we can start from.
Right. It's not like signing a petition, I think, basically.
I mean, I'd say this, Jeff, that, no matter what the mayor does, this commission can definitely put something in front of the council that says, we encourage you to sign. Right?
Whatever you all decide, I will get to council. I can't tell you what the decision is going to be, but that, as my mind, that's my obligation. You make a recommendation, it's my job to take that recommendation to them, to us, and then the decision is made.
So speaking personally, I do remember the discussion when we had this with the Sierra Club and the commission. Vaguely, I would love to get the facts back in front of me. I remember being generally supportive of this effort, kind of like, why wouldn't we do this? I mean, quite honestly, the citizens of the state voted for something similar, which, our leaders in Jeff City decided to sort of ignore, right? But it might not be a bad idea to just put this info in front of me one more time.
Yeah. John, I was just thinking, do you think it would benefit to see the info from Sierra Club? Would this benefit you, or do you want, because I have all of our minutes saved, do you want to see those again, or from that time that John, what's
I
his
feel
name?
like I should see the info from the Sierra Club, Jamie, before I just say, as a member of this commission, I'd like to vote that this goes in front of the council and the mayor signs it.
Okay,
I mean, I do remember, Jamie, I was supportive of this.
Yeah.
Seems like I should do my due diligence and look at this again, since it's been months since we talked about it.
great. Okay, so I will get that email. I just put it down on my to-dos. I will get that email out, or that link to the mayor's Mayors for Clean Energy page on the Sierra Club website. And I think that, you know, once I send that out, I would like to try to see about throwing a letter together to ask that, you know, it would just begin a letter to say, so to say that we are going to be in support of this, or we are going to ask council to take a look at this. So, and then we can talk about it further next meeting. Does that sound okay?
Jamie, could we bring the info and the letter? Because
Yes.
I know we don't want to just constantly every month kind of kick the can down the road.
Yep.
But
Absolutely. Yep. Let's be as efficient as possible. So Todd, sorry, you're going to be CC'd on a lot of these emails. So yeah, I think that's good. Good. That puts us in a good place to have a wider energy conversation next meeting. Okay. Does that feel good? Does anybody want to add something? Yes, Elizabeth.
Does Sierra Club have a letter already, or do we need to orchestrate our own letter?
Good question. I will explore that. I know they have materials on their website, like a whole toolkit on how to get this sort of momentum going on getting support from your mayor. And wider. So you guys can do a little exploring, tripping around in that website once I send you over that link.
Okay, if we need to write our own, just email me. I'm happy to draft it out.
It's probably inappropriate to say this, but I love you for that. Thank you. Okay. All right. I think we're good. It's 5:01.
Jamie, can I just do a couple quick updates?
Yes, Laura, I'm sorry. I'm going to add that to how to run a meeting, my
Okay.
Laura updates, please.
That's okay. Just a reminder that the first Tuesday in April is a municipal election. On that ballot is the use tax for the city, which is essentially an internet sales tax. Individuals really won't pay it unless you spend over $2,000. It's really designed to both put us in compliance with state law that we hope will pass this year, but also then for bigger entities who buy a lot of things via the internet from out of state. Also on that is MSD has a proposal as well, which has been characterized as pay me now or pay me later. Is that fair, Todd? So you can take a look at that as well. And then development strategies, you know, is this firm we've engaged to help us understand the economics and the impact of the proposed development. Apparently they finally have all the data they need. So we expect a report from them sometime in the month of April. I feel like I tell you that every month and then it just kicks down the road, but we have been assured that really April is much more likely than anything we've heard before. The Plan Commission sent on to us both the lot area ratio zoning proposal and the duplex zoning proposal. It's not on our agenda for tomorrow night, but it will be for April. And there has been some opposition that's emerged later in the Plan Commission discussion, mostly from developers. So if anyone's interested in letting us know how much they love that again, feel free to just resend whatever you sent before.
Okay.
And I think that's it. Our gross solar mentioned those. I just looked up while we were talking. Those power hour informational things have happened. So Todd, you don't have to do this. I'll do this. I'm going to send a note to the city clerk to make sure we can get those on the city website and out through the Friday page, so residents know that they've started. And that's it.
That's it, Laura, thank you.
Jamie, one other thing, maybe I tuned in late, but I am curious. Michael, are you our new commission member?
Yeah, I haven't met him. Is he new?
Sorry, I should have done that right at the beginning. I'm such a stooge.
I thought I was late. I go, okay, I'll just find out later.
Michael, please introduce yourself. I'm sorry.
Yep, Mike Stouse. I live actually right up the street from Elizabeth. So interested in sustainability. I work for Clayco, have for the past 15 years. Lead AP, Living Future Association. So interested to see how I can help with this. And so I'm taking as many notes as I can, and hopefully we'll speak up a little bit more over the next couple of meetings.
That's
He's
great.
got a great patio for when it gets warm.
Well, this is why we need to get the Sierra Club stuff out because Michael hasn't seen this.
Yeah.
For sure. Michael, anything else you want to add, comment on, or are you going to hold off?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, thanks.
Michael, is your building the one that's been designed like LED? Like you got I'm looking behind you. Are you in that building off I-170?
Yeah.
That's been designed like with low water and sustainable parking and, oh, not so much?
That's Alberisi. That's the one across the street.
Oh,
with
sorry.
the,
I'm so
across the
sorry.
highway with the big windmill.
Okay, sorry.
We
Shut
build.
up now. I'm
Yeah,
muting now.
we do a lot of new buildings, new construction that we push a lot of sustainable practice into our new buildings.
Thank you.
That is awesome. Okay, well, Michael, we're thrilled that you're here, and I'm sorry that I didn't ask you to introduce yourself earlier. This is my first time running a meeting, so I'm just gonna pull that card.
I should have put it on the agenda. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We're both learning. Okay. I think that's it. I am going to mention that our next meeting is scheduled for the 19th. And I'm going to ask, does everyone remember, did we say we want to establish a recurring meeting, like it's every third Monday? Is that, am I remembering that correctly, or am I getting my other?
That's the way we've done it.
Okay. Every third Monday. Okay, I'm just gonna go through the calendar and throw that into an email for everyone for the rest of the year, just so if people are geeks like me and using paper planners still, that you can pop it in your calendar, or you can choose to ignore it, either way. So I'm gonna throw that out your way too via email. Okay. That's what we have for March 15th. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Who seconded?
Chris or Jeff, you get to choose.
Okay.
Make
Okay.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, friends.
Thank
Be
you.
in touch.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Be well, everyone.